Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Comics Week in Review. I'm Steve McGauley, editor-in-chief at TMStash.com. With me is the crew of TMStash.com, Ed Garrett, Joseph Gagel, Nick Duran. How we doing, guys?
Doing great.
Doing good.
Been a fun week as we finally got up our awards that we talked about last week, and we will get to those here in a little bit. But in more pressing news, we had some interesting and one very particular interesting announcement come from Marvel. They said in April will be the end, or be the killing off, I should say, of Deadpool. Joe, what's the info on that?
Well, there hasn't been much news released about it, but what they have said that it's going to be, I want to say in the actual running series, it's going to be issue number 43, but it's going to be a 250th issue special because they added up all the issues that he's ever done, and it just happens to be 250. So they really haven't said anything about the motivation behind it, the whys and whatnot, but it really is not much of a surprise because we've seen in the past year how many changes and how many characters have been some serious changes that could be long-term to short to long-term. So, but this one does kind of come as a surprise, as they had just announced the film to be greenlit. So, once again, like everything, I'll say we'll see him by that time, maybe, if he comes back.
So are they just killing him off for press, essentially?
Who knows? And of course, then much like Wolverine, it's the how. How do you kill him? Because you don't want to. He's very much like Wolverine in the sense that he's got actually a higher accelerating healing factor, which is why appears to be scarred up as much. But he has the healing factor to another level where you could take his, like we just recently saw, you can take his head off, and as long as you can reattach it, he'll be all right. So we don't know, and you don't want to reproduce what you just did with Wolverine. So they're gonna have to come up with a different way to kill this unkillable guy.
Deadpool's so awesome.
So yeah, and he was so good last year. I don't know why they would think to do this. But.
Why are they doing this? They're killing off popular character. Okay, well, now Deadpool's our popular character because we killed off Wolverine. Let's kill him off. They're gonna do this until someone like Cyclops is the most popular character.
Well, and he hasn't been really that bad lately, but still, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So did they? So the thing that interests me, and it might be because Guardians wasn't known. But I feel like they went the opposite way for the Guardians movie, where they brought in Bendis and made a sweet new Guardians series based on the characters for the movie. But with Wolverine movie coming, I guess Wolverine you don't need any press, right? But for Deadpool, now they got this movie coming out. Deadpool, crazy popular. They can pair him up against anyone and people buy it.
Yeah, I mean, look how well Deadpool vs. Hawkeye's done.
Well, guys, I'm so worried about this because, after all, dead means dead. They're never going to bring it back, right?
How many times has Wolverine died? Like 10?
It's just how long they take before they bring him back.
But with Deadpool, it's so funny. Deadpool is so funny that they could do a ridiculous kind of over-the-top death and reason for him coming back. Like, bring him back with this Superman. Oh, I was just in a super coma. Or something.
Or could it be like could this even be like a spoof that they're going to kill him off and it's going to be some crazy spoofy special 250th edition, and then he comes back the next week?
Well, look at our source here. Joe could be making this up. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Actually. But no, I mean, I would think they wouldn't go to all this much work to do that. But I mean, like I said, they have made a lot of big changes to big characters, and so this really, I guess, kind of falls in line with their pattern, their trend. Maybe they are, like I've always kind of said, maybe they are making that transition to a different, generation of people, maybe trying to actually have some progress and not make everyone so timeless and, but I could be wrong, but it's, it's the way it looks so far.
Well, only time will tell. We'll know more in April, and who knows with Marvel, as they are crazy about killing off people and not killing off people, whatever silly nonsense they're choosing to do these days. But
It's
moving
a,
on to more. Did you have something else?
no, you brought up a good point. I don't think DC doesn't really kill off characters like Marvel does, right?
They have killed them off, but they certainly don't kill them off en masse like Marvel's doing. So you're not going to see as much of it. But certainly they have in the past, probably will again. I mean, they've just revived Damien.
But Batman never really died. Superman never really died. And Marvel's saying, screw that, we're going to take our big characters and we're going to kill them.
Well, really, they've only killed Wolverine. They've just kind of rearranged the situation for most other characters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then we come up with some idiotic way to bring them back to life.
they did
It's
have
got to get harder and harder.
Yeah, they did have Superman officially dead for a while, and of course they had Batman with a broken back for about a year with Azrael subbing for him back in the day. But you're right. It's
the 90s when comics were bad.
Marvel's sort of figuring out who do we kill today. But it works. I mean, you look at the sales figures for 2014, and Marvel dominated it. They had 9 out of the top 10 comics for the year. The other one was Walking Dead. So they certainly dominated the sales things. DC made more of their money on back issues, on collections, on figurines and things like that. So they had a good year that way. But Marvel really dominated the top sales issues for the year with some of their events, and a lot of it was Death of Wolverine, Amazing and Superior Spider-Man. So, hey, if it works, keep doing it.
I suppose so. It's frustrating for me, but it is what it is.
Hey, that's why I'm DC.
Steven's down to 2 comic books now.
Right. Exactly. I don't know. I might be picking a new one up here. I definitely will be picking up at least a third this week with Marvel taking on Star Wars. I very much want to see what they do with this new Star Wars. So for those of you living under a rock, Marvel is now in full ownership of the Star Wars franchise and all of the backlog of catalog, right? They have the backlog right now, Joe?
I think they have everything they want, but they've said that.
Because don't they have the backlog for sale on their digital on the app?
I believe they do. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Because Dark Horse did like a end of the year sale. We're losing control of it, and then at the beginning of the year, all of a sudden it popped back up in Marvel store, and Marvel's like, "We have it now. Pay us." So it is now in full ownership of Marvel, and the very first series of Star Wars comics to come from Marvel starts this week. What is it called, Joe?
I believe it's just called Star Wars, and it's going to be their obviously the flagship title. And I want to say it picks up just after the events of A New Hope, so they're going to cover some of that space between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. And then in February, you want to look for I want to say it's Darth Vader. I could be wrong. I could be mixed. It's February and March. They're releasing Darth Vader and Princess Leia. One of those in each one of those months. I can't remember which one is the order, but
are these all new writers?
No. I want to say Jason Aaron is doing the Star Wars title, and he did Original Sin last year, and he's done a lot of other stuff.
No, I meant are they using the? They're not bringing over any of the Dark Horse writers, are they?
I'm not sure about that. But I'm pretty sure Jason Aaron didn't write Star Wars over there.
No, I didn't read anything that anyone was coming over from Dark Horse.
I think this would be cool, then. I really want to see it. I want to see a total new. I think the excitement about Star Wars being Disney and Marvel, is with the movies, and with this, it's going to be fresh. It's going to be new perspectives, not the same teams.
And I want to say all 3 titles are going to take place in the same time period. And they've made it a point to say that this is part of the canon. So I'm wondering and almost willing to bet that we might see some backstory stuff here for, maybe teasers for the storylines in the upcoming films. Maybe not, but I think.
Are they only going to have 3 books?
So far, yes. I'm sure they'll, start, making them as the year goes out. But that's the three they've got in slated right now.
I'm just trying to figure. I'm just right now inside my head trying to figure out my finances.
You can find money for Darth Vader.
Oh yeah.
Ed, are you gonna read Star Wars?
I may. I mean, I'm old enough. I was actually at the theater for the very first Star Wars movie, back before they started calling it Episode 4. I'm old enough to have been thoroughly confused when Empire Strikes Back came out and it said Episode 5. And wait, what happened to the other ones? And then found out it was actually that was the way the plan was. So yeah, it would be cool to see. And with it being set, picking up right after A New Hope, I think that's going to be cool. It'll hit right in my wheelhouse. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I can't wait till they do a spin-off on Jar Jar Binks.
No, not going to read it.
Hey, at least if it's in a comic book form, you won't have to hear his voice, except in your head.
They
That's too much.
they did a series on just R2 and C3PO, like back in the day, like 80s.
I could take that. That would be cool.
I remember those.
Droids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of the catch with Dark Horse. When they get a hold of these titles, they tend to go crazy and stories go off in all sorts of different directions. They did that with Star Wars. They've done it with Star Trek.
I think is... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I would expect within a year or two for it to have expanded and have its, like any other book title, there'll probably be 4 or 5 titles within a good year, maybe more.
But it's with Dark Horse. Dark Horse got their hands on Star Wars, and that was it. Like that's our moneymaker. We have Star Wars. Marvel, I don't think they can put their eggs in multiple baskets because they're freaking Marvel.
Yeah. Definitely. They've got the clout. They've got the money. So it is interesting. But I'm excited. I'm excited for a fresh start. Kind of what you said, Nick. I want something new. I want something fresh. And I think Marvel will do a decent job because at least with this, they won't be able to kill off characters. Hopefully.
Let's hope not.
Darth Vader's dead. Issue 8.
No.
Or Luke. No, it's already dead. I hope.
Luke chops his hand off instead.
Right. So, I'm looking forward to that this week very much. So we will talk about that next week at length for sure. But moving on to the awards, the first annual TMStash Awards, which I'm sure some of you loved and some of you had opinions about our picks. These were merely just our opinions based on our 4 votes, plus John chimed in a little bit with some of his voting. But I just kind of wanted to run through some of the people that we gave awards to and kind of how we came to that. So without further ado, let's just dive right in to our series of the year. And to no surprise, Ed won and got his Batman Eternal.
And it's really funny. I started the year, not as into Batman as I had been in past years, but a couple of things drew me back in. Zero Year drew me back in. Batman Eternal has just been an excellent series, and to keep the quality up in a weekly series, like I haven't seen since 52 came out years ago. This has just been an exceptional series, and it's still driving me nuts. I mean, it's going to keep ratcheting up the tension. The only thing is we still don't know who the real big bad is. We started out thinking it was Carmine Falcone, then we thought, no, it's Hush. Nope, not Hush. It's Riddler. Now we're going, nope, it's not even Riddler.
Someone the Riddler's scared of.
Yeah, and it's just been a really good year for Batman all the way around. But that particular series was great. And of course, Scott Snyder got recognized not just for this issue. We'll hit more of those in some of the other awards. But
I think one of the reasons Batman Eternal did win, it had an unfair advantage, and I voted for it too. But being a weekly, this has been able to have depth that our monthlies haven't had, and it's awesome. And it's just they're hitting on stuff that every fanboy likes, and the story is so complex that it just keeps everything interesting.
And it's rare that, and the other thing, and I think one of the main reasons, outside of the fact that it is a great story, that it's won, is that it has been able to be a weekly and be as deep as it has been, versus some other books that we've read. I mean, some not really the ones that we had nominated, but there's a lot of books that we read month in and month out that do not have the depth of this, and they have 3 to 4 weeks to build up a storyline, versus Batman Eternal, which is firing on all 4 cylinders, releasing stuff in a 5-day turnaround, essentially.
And even some of the other weeklies out there. Future's End was good, but not quite as good as Batman Eternal. World's End has disappointed me some, even though I'm a huge Earth 2 fan. But it's keeping a tight rein. I think part of their approach here, having Scott Snyder and James Tynion sort of take care of the overall plot of this thing, and then have other writers come in and make individual storylines work, but having some overall control on how those stories weave together, that's an approach that really works here. It allows them to keep on timelines, but also maintain some control over the overall storyline, so that you have some consistency both in where you're heading and in the overall quality of the story. But it's been real impressive.
Yeah, definitely. We could talk about this all day. We talk about Batman Eternal a lot. So I will move us along to the Indie Series of the Year.
I almost didn't even vote on this.
and how we, and just to be clear, how we labeled the indies as independently owned comics. So basically most anything not Marvel and DC. And the winner was pretty unanimous, wasn't it, Ed?
Yeah.
With Witches.
Every one of us had them on our ballot at some level. We tended to vote on the top 2 or 3 and merge them together, and I think this one was on every ballot. If not the top, then at least the second choice. So yeah, it was pretty unanimous, at least in terms of.
I think we knew what it was going to be going into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're not going to dive into really the honorable mentions, but the nominees were Black Science, Lazarus, Rat Queens, Red Sonja, 10 Grand, The Walking Dead, and of course Witches. So, I mean, it was going up quite a stout cast of books. I think Nick and I would agree The Walking Dead's not really sure where Walking Dead's going these days. 10 Grand was one that I highly considered. That is a good story. Ed, you're keeping up with that, aren't you?
Yeah, I love 10 Grand. I also love Red Sonja. And this was a tough one to pick. The neat thing with the indies these days, I mean, there's something for everybody. And 10 Grand is a great, hard thriller kind of book. And, of course, Red Sonja has just been revitalizing. It's completely awesome with Gail Simone heading it up. Witches was a newer series, but it's been really powerful the way it's come across. So, you could make an argument for any one of those, plus others like Lazarus or a lot of other series that are out there that are really good books. But
I think there would have been even more on here, but we were all limited to 2 or 3 nominations. And I've heard that some people don't think we didn't hit some of the books we should have hit. And I'm going to be honest, there are a lot of books that we all think were great that didn't make this list. And
that's right.
I mean, you loved Rat Queens, Nick.
Oh my God, Rat Queens and Black Science. There's just
so not to say, and which is why we mentioned them in the article. You can go to tmstash.com / okay, that's way too long. I need to shorten the URL, but tmstash.com / awards, because I'm going into the website right now and changing it.
And Nick's right in terms of what we could have had, because I love Vampirella. Nancy Collins has done a great job with that series. So, and that's before you get into what Archaea has done with some of the Jim Henson books. Boy, it's just been an outstanding year.
Yeah, so, but I think anyone who's listening to this right now, if they think we didn't hit the mark on some stuff, please let us know what we should be reading, and we'll tell you either why we're not going to read it, or tell you we probably are reading it and we just didn't get to it on the awards.
Or we'll check it out.
Exactly. I left out the key one there. Yeah, we will. And someone made a comment about Afterlife of Archie, and I spent my own hard-earned money on it this weekend just to check it out and let this guy prove me wrong, and it's pretty cool.
You know, we haven't gotten into the Archie books as much, which is sort of a shame because I actually did used to read the Archie books when I was younger, and it has been revitalized in the last few years. It's a whole different lineup than it used to be, and they've been taking chances that other publishers just don't take. And so, yeah, maybe we need to get a little bit more into the Archie books.
Maybe when we're done with the awards, can we circle back to Archie? I got some information on that actually this weekend.
Cool.
Sure.
And they killed him off last year. Don't forget.
Oh my God.
Archie's dead. Spoiler. All right, I'm going to move on because we got a lot of awards to go through. I'm just going to kind of run through a couple here. Best Digital Comic, Batman 66.
Really quick, why Batman 66 is good before you jump through it. You go onto one page and you have the art and you hit something, and then something else will add to the art and add to the art and add to the art. Like you'll see Batman really cool. Like this, and you'll hit next, and he'll still be like this, but his word bubble will pop up, and then pow, and then a villain will come into the scene. It's really.
I
cool.
really like the way that they did that. I wish that we had more. I wish they were pushing more of this into comics because so many people are reading digitally. A lot of people are still reading print, but I think there's a real future to writing comic books this way.
I will tell you, if you haven't checked out the Thrillbent app yet, you can go to thrillbent.com and sign up for it on your PC, or if you've got an iPad, you can get the app. They do a lot of comics that way, and to me, it's the way digital ought to be done overall. I certainly see the argument for Batman 66, but if you check out Empire or Insufferable or Valentine or Santa Claus Private Detective, believe it or not, that was actually a really good series, or the House Behind the Wall, which is a James Tynion book. I think I got the title of that right. All of those were excellent series. You can get them on the Thrillbent app along with several other stories out there. Headspace, which is a Monkey Brain, that's available on Comixology, is another good digital book. There's increasingly really cool digital books that do what Nick's talking about. It's where you take same panel here, but maybe the expression changes, or something else in the next time, and the next click comes into focus that was not into focus before. And there's folks out there that are finding a new way of telling stories using the digital medium, and it's pretty cool.
I'm now officially keeping a list of ridiculous titles Ed says. Santa Claus Private Detective.
It was a very good miniseries, I have to tell you. Santa Claus in a noir book. It actually was pretty cool.
And we had Character of the Year, Wolverine. Of course, paying homage to Wolverine. This was kind of tough because we easily could have went with Batman since the Batman title's been so strong. But with as good as the miniseries The Death of Wolverine was, I think that speaks to.
Well, and he also his character went through a lot of changes this year. Even before that, when he started a brand new series with he had quit and left the X-Men, and everyone thought he had kind of become a bad guy, but he was actually on a super secret SHIELD undercover mission, and faced death and literally faced the character death, and literally came to a point where he had to accept that he was killable, and then to be a hero that he had to embrace help and everything. So his character actually had a lot of ups and downs, and even going into the Death of Wolverine, he still, it was written really well. And I was talking with someone the other day about they thought that at first they thought that it was kind of a cheap way to send him out, but then I was like, well, when you think about it, they didn't have him go out fighting somebody, so you can say his legacy of being the best fighter or whatever you want to call him, that's intact. And he also died making a choice of sacrificing himself to prevent other people from, in his position at once, to not have to go through the life that he had to go through. So I thought really overall it was a really well thought out way send him out and solidify his legacy, if you will, as a hero and an X-Men, because that's what they're all about too, is helping people and protecting people. So I thought it was a great year for him, even though and they're still talking about him now in the books. They've got, even though he's gone, they're still making stories about him and his afterlife. So
Cool. Yeah, that is Wolverine, and we will see more of him for sure. Best new title we awarded to Moon Knight, which I don't know much about because I didn't vote in this category.
well, briefly, it was I hate doing the old Batman thing, but it really to me was almost Marvel's version of Batman, the way it was presented. He would come into a scene and he would just kind of waltz into the scene carefree and make all the right moves and stop whatever bad was happening. Each issue is pretty much a one-shot story. And then the way it was drawn, where his character obviously wears white, but his character is drawn as if he was presented in a black and white comic book, where the rest of the book is in full color and whatnot. But it was just, everything just kind of worked, and it was really, to me, a really cool character, a character they haven't used in a while. Batman thing kind of made it pretty neat, even though he wasn't Batman, but he kind of had that edge to him that made it cool.
Awesome. All right, best all ages comic: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: New Animated Adventures, because the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are back. They have made a thriving comeback for our kids of all ages. So good to see the Ninja Turtles are back. Best tween comic: Gotham Academy.
Good one.
Which is very good.
That's been the nicest addition to the Bat family really this year. They tried to turn Batgirl into a twin comic, and it just hasn't worked as well as Gotham Academy. There's also a couple of other ones, and Nick, for your keeping track of my comic names, Lumberjanes was another really good from Boom, and I could recommend it highly too. But honestly, I can see Gotham Academy taking the award for this one. It's really well put together. It's Brendan Fletcher and Becky Cloonan, and they know how to do a book. It's unlike anything else in the Bat family of books, and it's really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm reading it. It's pretty good. It's different. It's the best Batman without Batman.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Best fantasy horror: Witches. Again, we talked about Witches. It's an unbelievable comic, going up against much of the same as it was in the best indies. The best sci-fi, shocker, Saga.
Saga's great. There was a lot of good new sci-fi this year, and I think people should definitely check out our site, see what we said.
Copperhead, Roche Limit, The Fuse. So definitely some good titles on there. Best arc event went to The Death of Wolverine, which was a great little series. Let's see. Yeah,
Honorable mention to Spider-Verse, though. That is just the coolest arc right now. It wasn't over then, but it's still just...
Yep. And best miniseries, Death of Wolverine. Best writer, we couldn't come up with an answer for this, essentially. Yeah. Charles Soule and Scott Snyder.
When you talk about Charles Soule, that's maybe the busiest man in comics today, writing, I think, at one time 7 books at once for DC and Marvel. Now he's going to go strictly to Marvel. But, you've got Superman, Wonder Woman, Red Lantern, Swamp Thing, Inhuman, The Death of Wolverine, several other books, and his own independent book, Letter 44, which actually is a really good book, too. That makes sense. And, of course, Scott Snyder, my gosh, you've got Batman, you've got Batman Eternal, he's got Witches, and I think that's not even all that he's doing. And you look at their quality, it's consistently really, really good books. And to do that across writers, it's amazing.
I don't know. So Scott Snyder is a writer. He teaches writing. He right? He's had some short stories released, and like what Neil Gaiman, who was an amazing comic writer, he's another writer. But Charles Soule, man, he's a lawyer and a guitar
Yeah.
player.
He operates a full-time legal practice. Now, he's at his practice around, I think, 3 days a week, but he has a lot of folks working with him doing like immigration law and entertainment law, and then keeps up with his guitar work. He came to Durham, and we had a chance to interview him while he was there. And the way he keeps saying everything straight, he has a notebook for each book he writes, and he'll keep notes in that notebook about things he wants to do several issues down the road. And then when he finally decides to write the actual issue, he takes those notes, sits down for 3 or 4 hours. That's it. Writes an entire issue out in one sitting and goes to the next book. For someone to be that disciplined and to be able to put out a book with that amount of time put into it, of course, it's more than 3 or 4 hours. He's doing all the research and stuff ahead of time, but it's like once he finally decides to write the actual script, it's 3 or 4 hours. To do that for that many books, I'm blown away.
All right, moving on. Best artist, Francis Manipul.
Oh, I got to talk about this one. Francis is my favorite artist. And it's hard to talk about Francis, though, without talking about Brian Buccellato. They're a team. In fact, in Detective Comics, they don't list either one as writer or artist. They list them both as storytellers. They were paired together on The Flash for a long time, and it was sort of controversial in the New 52 when they gave these two guys the chance to write the book, because they were both known for art. Francis for his pencils and inks and all the color washing that he does, and Brian Buccellato for some very exceptional color work. Probably one of the best color guys in comics. And when they went over to Detective, we really didn't know what would happen, because you're leaving Flash, who's a very hopeful, bright character, to this very dark, grim character with Batman, and they sort of hit their own niche. It's a very unique look for a Batman. It really works for them. But they're telling some excellent stories. It's not the same kind of stories that Snyder's telling over in Batman or in Batman Eternal, but they're certainly marking their own territory for the detective style stories, the world's greatest detective style stories for Batman. And their books are the kind that you read it more than once. You read it once like you read any other comic, but then you got to go back and read the art. You really got to go back and look for the little Easter eggs they put in there that add to the story. But they've done things with page layout that are very unique. They've done things with the storytelling technique through art that are rather unique. And I think you're going to see some influence on other artists in years to come from what we're seeing from Manipul and from Buccellato today.
Very good. Very well said. All right, I'm going to keep us moving here for time's sake. Funniest comic, Deadpool. I think that goes without saying. There's some other good ones out there, but in, week out, Deadpool takes a cake. Best strange weird comic is one of my favorites, Zombie Tramp from Action Lab, Danger Zone. If you're not reading that, it's worth giving a look.
It is so over the top, and so it's a guilty pleasure. But it's really funny. If you just listen to the title, you think it's a lot more offensive than it really is. It's certainly a mature book, but it's well written. It's well done, and it's just, like I said, it's a guilty pleasure. I think we all like that book.
Yes, very much so. Favorite change of the year? Steve Rogers passing the torch to Sam Wilson.
I'm laughing. No one nominated anything but Joe.
Yeah, that was it. When nobody thought of anything else, it was like, okay, that's the one.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was well done in the books. It was, and the cool thing is Sam Wilson is he's a different kind of Captain America because he's a regular guy. He doesn't have any superpowers. He can still he still has his wings and still talks to the birds. But now we've got a different a different character all around, and I think it'll be good going forward.
I just think it's funny that we're all so nice on this site that no one wanted to say, well, why don't we just cut this category because we only have one nomination.
Yeah, that may not stay next year. We'll see. All right, the What the Bleep award goes to Batgirl.
What a surprise! The thing is, all they did the first issue was violate everything that was basic to Barbara Gordon's character. Then they followed that up with making her more unlike Barbara Gordon. And then they finally hit some of the clumsiest, poorly done, tone-deaf LGBT stereotypes you can come up with. And you're hearing, and wound up having to do a written apology for this thing. I'm glad they did the apology, but the thing is, this character they created that is so tone-deaf is still going to be in their books for the next few months because they've already plotted it and announced it. So I don't know how they're going to redo this to not be writing further apologies. Hopefully they're going to figure this out. But
they're bringing it back.
But we'll see what comes out of it. Hopefully they'll make some changes to make it work.
Well, we definitely know what Will thinks. The Golden Globes the Golden Globes had a thing. This what I caught of it so far about kind of transgender and the show on transgender. What's the name of that, Stephen? That just won a Golden Globe.
Which one?
The one about the transgender father.
Oh, Transmit on Amazon.
Yeah, that just won an award. So we got going one way here in TV and going the other way in comics, kind of.
For those of you who didn't know who was in the background there, that's Will, who does DC Corner with me. And if you've ever watched the DC Corner, you know how we both feel about what's happened to Batgirl.
Yeah, go back a few DC Corners and check that out if you want to hear everything regarding Batgirl.
He's the official sound effect guy
brilliantly, now. Right?
I think our last that was "We Are Done."
All right, this year's 2014's best comic-related movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that goes without saying. There were some good ones, some not the best. Amazing Spider-Man, meh. Captain America was good. X-Men was really good, but Guardians of the Galaxy, hands down.
I mean, the sequel was announced before the movie even hit debuted. So I mean,
right.
It lived up to. It's one of the few movies I could say actually lived up to the hype that was around it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I did think Winter Soldier was real well done too, though.
Yeah, it was definitely.
It was well done. Guardians was still a better movie, and as good as Captain America was, it was a good movie too. I agree, but Guardians.
4 out of 5 years, Captain America wins this award, but it came out the same year as Guardians.
Well, and also I think what made it also is that the Captain America is an established character and it's a sequel, and this is a first film of a relatively unknown franchise. So
even the comic buffs didn't even know really anything about Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't.
I had been reading it.
Me too.
But now people know, and now people will be reading it. So.
Well, no, I read the new Bendis, but did you read it before Bendis took it over? Back in '95.
I wish I had because they're worth a lot now, but I hadn't.
Yeah, see, they brought it out right before the movie.
But I did start when they did the relaunch.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean though. It's been around since the '60s, and no one's known much about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting us off topic. I apologize.
You're good. We're moving on to TV. Best TV series of 2014, comic related, goes to Arrow.
I felt guilty. I did feel guilty voting for Arrow because I knew Ed wanted Flash so bad.
You're watching the lower third here, which says my Twitter handle. You know I was for the Flash.
You know, and my vote was, I really had as a Marvel guy, I had a really tough job voting between Arrow and Flash, and the only reason I gave Arrow the edge is because it's you know, this isn't its first season, and it's been since the first episode, it's to me been incredibly outstanding, and Flash has been really good too. So it was a really tough one for me.
I'm glad you said that, because that was why I picked Arrow over Flash, because I felt this is our first award. It wasn't like it could have gotten homage for the last 2 seasons, and I thought, since this is our first award, since they're both great TV shows, we needed to. I think we needed to celebrate how awesome Arrow's been for 3 years.
Yeah,
Now,
definitely.
I would have given Flash the best new TV series.
I would have too.
I will tell you, as much as I love the Flash, it's a hard choice between the two. And I get that, because Arrow is a quality TV. This is what we've talked a lot about. DC does a great job with TV. I wish they did as well with movies, but at least they do real well with TV. And there are some great shows ahead. I'm looking forward to the last half of the season with the Flash. By the way, there is an article that talked a little bit about some spoilers for ahead, and one is that the Eddie Thawne name will have some meaning the second half of this season. He's not the Reverse Flash. Harrison Wells is confirmed as the Reverse Flash, but Eddie Thawne is named a Thawne for a reason, and they're going to explore some of that in the second half of the season. I can't wait to see that.
And both shows have been picked up for another season, and we talked earlier that the CW is in early talks of a possible adding Adam into their universe for a third series. So
I've been a Ray Palmer fan since I was a little kid. That would be really cool to see.
Yeah, and with that being said, I mean, Arrow with Arrow and Flash doing so well, the head of CW is actually working on expanding that universe in the future. They haven't announced anything yet, but they have said they are in talks and in meetings working on expanding that universe. So that will be very cool. All right. Moving on to Person of the Year, and we talked much about him already, Charles Soule. With all the books that he's doing, he deserves it, because everything he's done has been gold.
He killed Wolverine.
Yeah, and he's working on the Wolverine's title, which is a weekly-ish series now. They recently announced him and Steve McNiven, and they were two of the guys that did Death of Wolverine. They're going to be working on a new Inhuman book called Uncanny Inhumans, and he's really excited about that series, and I'm kind of excited about it as well, because it's all about Black Bolt and where he is, and it's going to really show him from a different angle. So I'm looking forward to everything he's going to be doing this year in Marvel, because he's doing, you know, right now it's Inhumans and Wolverine, and those are two series that I'm definitely into right now.
It's a shame that they canceled She-Hulk, though. I thought that was his best title.
Is there a Marvel series they can't put the word uncanny in front of?
I guess not. You know, the other ones that they're doing is the X-Men and the Avengers are two of my favorites. I'm really hoping this Uncanny Inhumans is going to live up to the Uncanny title.
They love the letter U, or so if they're not going to put Uncanny, they'll make a different universe and call it Ultimate.
There you go. Back to Charles Soule. He really has done a lot across multiple publishers. Very influential on Superman and Wonder Woman. Really, it's been still on Swamp Thing, did Red Lanterns, and then all the stuff he did for Marvel. You've got somebody who's gone across multiple publishers and had significant events for all of them. That makes sense that he'd be the Person of the Year.
Yep, definitely. And that wraps up our first 2014 TMStash Awards. So yeah, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments on YouTube or on the website. Like I said, it's tmstash.com/awards, and we will be happy to read those and share those and rebuttal to our heart's content. So, moving on to what to look forward to next week in comics. We've already talked about, we definitely have Star Wars. So what else is happening in Marvel next week, Joe?
Kind of a big week. We've got Shield #2, Thanos versus Hulk #2, Wolverines #2, Spider-Verse #2, All New Captain America #3, Deathlock #4, Guardians 3000 #4, Silver Surfer #8, Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man #9, Cyclops #9, Nightcrawler 10, All New Ghost Rider 10, Captain Marvel 11, Daredevil 12, X-Force 14, Amazing X-Men 15, which is going to be the beginning of the Juggernaut storyline that we talked about at the end of last year. Deadpool #40 and Avengers #40, which is part of the Time Runs Out, which has 4 months left to run into their big crossover this year, which is going to be the Secret Wars.
Very good. Ed, what's coming? What's we got in line next week for DC and the Indies?
Yeah, over in DC, Batman Eternal. Oh, the weeklies are out. Batman Eternal, Earth 2 Worlds End, Futures End will all have issues. Justice League United will have the penultimate chapter of the Infinity Saga, which brings in the Legion of Superheroes, which has been a real treat. You've got Superman and Wonder Woman 15, World's Finest 30, Batgirl 38 if you're so inclined. I'm not.
You're going to read it. You're going to read it.
No, I'm really thinking leave it be. But we'll go over to Image real quick. Rat Queens is coming out. 10 Grand is coming out. Jupiter's Legacy starts back up again on their next arc.
Man. How long has it been since they've had another issue of that? I've been waiting on that.
Long time since we've seen the last issue of Jupiter's
At least 2 months.
I don't know anything about this.
It's really good.
That's a great.
They only did like 4 issues when they first came out, then they took like an 8-month break. I've been waiting for like issue #5 forever.
Does this star Channing Tatum and Mila Kunis or?
No.
It's really good though. It's a really good.
He gets it.
Yeah, Jupiter's Legacy is you've got the Golden Age version of these heroes that sort of saved the world, and then their kids are growing up now, and just really are into it more for the fame than anything else. And one of the original heroes has turned into a bit of a villain. But it's a very good storyline. So it's worth checking out.
Is that Mark Millar?
Yes, sure is. And Frank Whiteley.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Now I'm
right.
listening.
Great book, and yeah, it's taken forever to get to the next arc started, but it's really worth checking out.
How many issues is it in?
It's like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So I can catch up pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And Ghosted by Joshua Williamson. I really like that series. Anything else? Dark Horse has a book I've been looking forward to for a while. It's Conan Red Sonja #1. Conan's published more by Dark Horse, Red Sonja mostly by Dynamite, but this brings together Jim Zub and Gail Simone on one issue, and we can't talk very much about it right now, but I've read an advanced copy, and if you like either character, you're going to want to get this one. In Resurrectionist by Fred Van Lentop, Valiant has Dr. Mirage, the last issue in this miniseries. That's been a really good book. And Riot #6, which looks into the future of the Valiant universe, and it's been really good. Titan has Doctor Who, the 10th Doctor, coming out. Dynamite has XCon #5, which is the last issue of that miniseries. It's been really good. Twilight Zone, which if you like the old Twilight Zone, you'll really love this series. It really captures the spirit of Rod Serling very well. It's J. Michael Straczynski writing it. Really good series. And Vampirella 100, which brings together not only Nancy Collins and the current team, but other teams all the way back for Vampirella with a variety of shorter stories in it. It's really good. Boom has Hexed coming out. They have an anthology book called the Boombox Mixtape. Suicide Risk is coming out. Thomas Alsop is coming out. And I'm sure we're missing a few even past that, but it looks like it's going to be a really good book, a really good week for indie books as well as for the weeklies for DC.
I didn't get to use my pen.
I saw you had it ready for action.
I know. I'll work on more unusual names for you sometime. But they didn't have God Hates Astronauts coming out this week, so you'll have to just wait.
When I write a comic book ad, I want you to name it.
There we go. Hey, sometimes those unusually named books turn out to be really, really good.
I hear Battle Pope is pretty good.
Do you know what I read? Okay, this is a little late. We haven't done our podcast in a while. I read Squarriors, and it was awesome.
What?
It's from Devil's Due. I saw it in Comixology and I had to buy it. It is about warring tribes of squirrels, and it is bloody. I felt kind of bad. Like, part of me was like, these little animals are getting butchered. It's just awesome.
Nice. All right. Anything else we want to touch on coming out next week before we wrap up?
I think
So,
that's it for me.
what I read, and this is a little late. We're a little late, so we're not breaking any news. So good thing it's at the end of the podcast. Mark Waid and Fiona Staples, the artist from Saga, award-winning Eisner. I don't know if it was Eisner, but she's an award-winning writer artist for Saga. The two of them are doing the new Archie in 2015 this year, and they're going to revamp it to make it more for our times. Well, not my times, but kids' times.
If any writer can do that, Mark Waid could certainly do it. That would be very cool.
So as I was reading this Afterlife Archie, I was like, well, did you guys know Sabrina the Teenage Witch was part of Archie's?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
I didn't know it was a comic book.
That goes way, we'll see. That's where my age comes in. That was way back in the day.
I think Archie and Predator are supposed to be this year, too.
That's happening?
It was either towards the end of last year or towards this year. I can't remember. I remember reading about it, though, the headline.
How's that even? We've talked about that, though. How's that going to work?
I have no idea.
Page 1, Predator lands in Riverdale. Page 2, Predator decapitates Archie. Page 3, Predator's on his spaceship again. Page 4, Predator's on his spaceship. Page 5.
Well, you could have page 2, Predator is confused by the appearance of Jughead.
Yeah, that's the only way I can see it. Every page he kills a character on Riverdale. Oh.
It's a short story.
On that note, I bid you adieu. That is it for Comics Week in Review. Stay tuned this week. Hopefully, John Gruccio and I will get together to talk about what's happening on the Golden Globes currently, which is probably why you're not watching us live. If you want to catch us after we're live, go ahead and catch us on YouTube.com. TMStash, are we finding the stash on YouTube? And TMStash.com for everything else. Of course, all the social medias, you can track us down one way or the other. But with that being said, thanks so much, gentlemen. And you guys have a good night and keep reading the stash.
Good night.